my advice to myself is don't address it so aggressively. Don't address it so aggressive to a point that I might not notice that I'm creating gaps in the frequency that's coming towards my ear. Does that make any sense? So I just basically want to like create freely and not worry too much about the technical stuff. But when I get to the point of EQing, I basically give the elements their place. I find out where everything is the fundamentals are, and if there's anything else playing at the same frequency, I decide, okay, I want this one to be the boss in this section, and then I dip one to give space for the other, and vice versa. Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining me again. This is my fourth vlog, and it's the series sort of me creating a track based on some ideas that I've had. So on this vlog, I'm going to be talking about something that I refer to as meat and potatoes. I know that sounds a little funny, but it's pretty simple. What I mean by meat and potatoes is basically the energy of the track, the feel of the track, if you will. I feel that it's very important to impact the listener, impact myself as the artist. So I'm going to be talking about some things that I do for that sort of thing. And they're not things that you have not heard. They're things you actually heard, but I just don't feel they've been explained the way I would have liked to have them explained to me. So without further ado, let's get into it. Meat and potatoes. Okay, so what do I mean by that? All right, so the meat and potatoes for me is the, you know, the like I said, it's the feeling of the track, right? The feel. So there's a few things that I do when I'm trying to get feeling in my music. And one of the things is that I'll use layering and I'll use parallel compression. Now, when we're talking about layering, as you guys have already heard that term before, you know, at first, when I first started layering, it was just a mess. I just didn't really understand what I was doing. I know that I can feel that I was doing some cool stuff, but it was just turning into a mess. So this layering that I'm talking about, it's a layering that I feel is needed for energy, for feeling. So what am I getting at here? Okay, so let's solo here the bass part. Okay, so I have this bass, and this bass. And to better illustrate that, I'm going to pull up M Multi-Analyzer by Melda. Let me remove this one. This is the parallel. We'll talk about that right now. So, okay, so in this analyzer, you see three different types of bass. You see this one, you see this one, and you see this one. And they're all occupying a certain part in the low end. And you know, and I layered them so that, you know, because when you listen to low end, when we're talking about something like, let's say this one is playing at 64 hertz, and then I got a secondary bass that plays later on in the track. Actually, when the track really, when I feel that the track really gets really like into the drop, the juiciest part, then I drop it down 10 hertz and I play at 54. But we won't talk about that one right now. Let's focus on the layering part. So this one's at 64, this one's at 108, and this one's at 173. So here we go. Look, I have these two muted, but I'm playing this one with the song, and you're going to see that right now. It'll illustrate here. So here's the one that plays at 64 hertz. Let me actually also take out the parallel, because the parallel is on, but I just took it off so you don't feel it if you're listening if you're listening to this, you know, in some good headphones or some good speakers at home, or wherever you may be. I just took out the parallel. We'll talk about the parallel after this. So here we go. So here's one of the bass, and now if I add the one that plays at 108 hertz, you see it popping up here, okay? Okay, so what that did was it filled up low energy tends to kind of start at the bottom. You start to feel it like below, depending on how low you go, right? You feel it starting at the bottom, and the higher you go, it starts working up towards your body, right? So the 64 is down here, the 108 is somewhere here where I feel it, and then the last one that I had, the 173 hertz, it's a little higher. To me, I kind of feel like it added something in the throat area. So watch, let me show you that. Let me add it. Here we go. There it is. So that's all three of them playing. So I have three different types of bass. So let me solo them. And we can hear that. Take that one out. Take this one out. Okay, and actually let me take them out like that so you can see them illustrated on the analyzer. It's very subtle, but it does the trick when it comes to layering and creating a feel. Watch, let me add it again. You hear that? Okay, let me add the third one. The third one is more noticeable. Okay, so all of these together, they create a feel. So that's one way that I use layering. In conjunction with the layering, there's another way that I use that I do, and that's a very common thing. It's the parallel compression. I'm sure you guys have heard that term many times, also known as the New York style compression. So there's a lot of ways that you can do this. The way I do it is I just basically create an auxiliary channel, and then I just bus signal to the compressor that's on the auxiliary, and that's just smashing it basically. So let me activate the parallel, and you can hear the difference. And what you're gonna see is you're gonna see this yellow one pop up. You see how it's rumbling down here? You hear it? Look, let me take it out. Don't be fooled by this, because it watch, check it out, listen. On, off, on, off. Listen to that. Look, I'm muting it, and I'm muting it really quick. And if you look at, if I take these out and just play the track, I have all three basses going to this parallel compressor via a bus, a bus sent to an auxiliary channel. And what you're seeing here is basically that parallel channel. So that's all three of them in here, and it's not very much, as you can tell. Like, I don't use a lot of it, you know? Okay, so I do layering, and I also use parallel compression to give, you know, some feel to the music. There's a couple of ways you can gauge this. The most simplest way is using a level meter that has peak and RMS. Okay, so here's one. Let me take this one out. So remember, the peak is the what is it? The peak of the sound wave of your track, and the RMS is the middle, the root mean square as they call it. I don't want to get scientific because I don't know much about it, but the RMS, if you got if you have a lot of RMS on your track, that means that your peak and your RMS got closer, and that means that your dynamic range is smaller. So that's illustrated here. Watch, check this out. Let me remove the parallel. Let me just unmute it. Let me remove the other one. Let me just let one bass play right now at this moment. Let's reset this and let's hear it. So our RMS at this point, it's roughly negative 25, negative 23, between 23 and 25. Now let me add the next layer. Might not even be that noticeable. You know what? It got closer. It got a lot more stable with the second layer. Again, this is subtle stuff. This is more stuff that you will hear, that you will feel, not so much that you will hear. Okay, let me add the third one. Okay, so, again, now let me add the parallel. Okay, that should be illustrated though in this area here. Okay, so let's just say, just for the sake of the argument, for the sake of the explanation, watch what happens when I bring up the input on the CLA, which is the parallel compressor. You're gonna see the RMS channel get closer to the peak. Watch. You can feel it too. Look at that. You see how it got closer and you can feel that? You feel it more on the bottom of the rumble. Look, let me undo it. Look at that. You see how this dropped? So basically you can use this meter. The meter I really like to use, or you can use the BMX, the Plug-in Alliance, whatever meter you got that does RMS and peak, you can do it. Look at here. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in here. Okay, so here's the RMS in the middle. Okay, let's reset it. I don't think I need to do it. Let's go. Okay, so here's RMS, here's peak. Okay, let's take out the parallel. Let's see if we see a little drop on this one. Yeah, you do. You see, you can. Some meters are better than others. Some will show you like instant information. Look, let me bring that up. Yeah, you see how when I take it out, look. See how it drops? Look, let me put it back on. Look, let me take it off. You'll see what. Look, let me take it off. Watch. See that little drop? Did you see when I put it in bypass? You see a little bit of a drop in the RMS. So you can use this one. The one I really like to use, and it's just because it's colorful and it just, I don't know, I just like it. This is by Shepard Dynameter. Really cool. Blue is like, you have dynamic range. It starts to turn green, dark green. It goes orange and it goes red when you're really just squashing it and you got a lot of feel in your track. So check this out. Let me mute all of them and leave one bass, okay? Now again, this is subtle. This is some subtle stuff. This is just for feeling. This is what I call the meat and potatoes, okay? So you see it is kind of bluish green. That's some good dynamic range there. Let me add this one. It should start turning a little darker. Let me add the next one. Okay. Now let me add the parallel compressor. And now, let me see how I got a little bit darker green. Now let me bring the parallel up just to drive the point home. Ah, you can feel that. See how it's, okay, watch. You can see how the wave started turning like yellow, look. See how it turned yellow? You're gonna start seeing less blue. You see that? That means that the dynamic range started to decrease and you start to get more energy in the middle of the track. Now to really show you guys what I'm talking about, let me revert this back. Let me take this out. Okay, let me just leave one bass and reset this. Check this out. Okay. And now let me add the next one. Let me add the next one. Now let me add the parallel compressor. Oh, the parallel compressor is on. Let me take it off. Look at, you see how it got like lighter yellow when I removed it? Now, let me put it back in. Now let me really smash it. This is just all three bass that you're hearing. Look at this. It's gonna turn like probably brown. I think brown is like just indication that you're really just squashing it. Yeah, look at that. So when we play the whole track together, okay, take the parallel out. Oh my God, that just gives it so much feel. But see, you start seeing the blue, and the green. Put the parallel back in, it starts to show you yellow, orange, red, brown, right? Again, I showed you guys that with the other level meters, right? Look at RMS gets closer to the peak. They take out the parallel. Look at that. It's incredible. Incredible. Anyway, whichever one you decide to use, it's entirely your choice. But that's pretty much it, guys, for this vlog, for this show. That's where I'm at. So if you want to go back and look at the other stuff that I did to begin the track, you can. But basically, I am building this track in layers. Okay, I'm just basically, building it carefully. I'm taking into consideration some science, and I'm basically looking at it in a different way. I'm not going about it in a technical way like the way I learned in school and like a lot of other people like to teach. I'm basically looking at it in a way where, I selected some good samples. I paid attention to where the samples were more dominant, meaning were they mono, were they stereo. If you could see here, I went and I pretty much labeled everything and just learned where everything is at. My kick is a mono, and it plays at 75 hertz. My claps, I got like they're layered. Again, I layered them for width and for strength. So we have the claps here at 3.8K. We have the other one at 6.2K and hat. So I went and I pretty much just learned where all the elements are at in the spectrum rather quickly. Doesn't take a long time. Okay. And then what I did is I EQ'd, not really EQ'd, but just basically like, you'll see it in my other video. If you see, it's a very basic. I didn't take off too much because, again, this one, okay. So there you go. I got one dipped at 6.2, and then I got the other one. So basically, if you go watch my vlog on EQing, the one that plays at 3.8 is dipped at the other one's frequency, and this one is dipped at that one's frequency. So this one is dipped at 6.2 and this one is dipped at 3.8. Does that, just go and watch the EQing vlog and you'll understand what I'm doing. So I basically gave each element their place in the mix. So good samples, finding out the fundamentals, and making sure that you don't have elements that are conflicting, but don't do too much, because remember, when you're creating music, when you're in the zone and you're just whipping up stuff, if you hear something that it doesn't sound right, you're gonna most likely address it immediately. But my advice to myself is, don't address it so aggressively. Don't address it so aggressive to a point that I might not notice that I'm creating gaps in the frequency that's coming towards my ear. Does that make any sense? So I just basically want to like create freely and not worry too much about the technical stuff. But when I get to the point of EQing, I basically give the elements their place. I find out where everything is the fundamentals are, and if there's anything else playing at the same frequency, I decide, okay, I want this one to be the boss in this section, and then I dip one to give space for the other, and vice versa. That's basically all I did. Then I make sure that I don't have too much information on the sides. You can see how I did that in the second vlog, or is it the third vlog? Just, you'll see it. I'll link it up in the description. Okay, so and then basically I make sure that there's not too much low-end information on the sides. I kind of clean it up and I make things just kind of gel into the middle. And then now I'm addressing the meat and potatoes, basically. So if I was to play this track where the bass is kicking here, let me see this here. Here's a more busy section here. Watch. Let me play this area right here. And there you go. Now let me put it in mono. So see, it sounds good in mono. Stereo, mono. So that's basically what I'm doing. Quality samples, give the elements their place in the song. Don't EQ too much, because the energy that was created during the artistic part of the process is going to get wiped out without you even knowing it. And then address the meat and potatoes, give the feeling to the song. And then on the next show is I get into the buses, or yeah, to do the bus processing. And then I get into the effects. So that's the next part. And then once I get the busing and the effects going, then I come back and I start EQing slightly, and I start addressing issues that need to be addressed. If things need distortion, if things need compression, that's coming up next. But basically right now I'm just creating a nice image, and then I'll come back in and just chisel and make sure things get heard, and just do my whatever I have to do. But thank you again, guys, for tuning in, and I hope you pick something up. Leave comments in the leave anything, questions in the comments. Look for me on Instagram on Jose Balance, Facebook Jose Balance, and yeah, let's talk about it. This is a method that I just started writing. I'm kind of through all the years of schooling and going through all this stuff over and over, and really just making a mess all the time. Getting to a point where I get to the end of the song and I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know if it's a bad sample. I don't know if it was over EQing. I don't know if it was the improper use of distortion, improper use of compression. So my thing now is like, just build it. Remember, it's air being pushed towards my ears. Remember, it's somewhat scientific, but not so technical, And if it does get too technical or a little technical, I don't want it to ruin my song. I don't want it to ruin what I felt when I was creating, because we'll get into that later. I'll make some vlogs, some videos about my creation and how I get creative and all that good stuff. I got a lot of cool things to show you guys that I've never seen anybody do. Yeah, I can't wait to share all that with you. But for now, thank you for watching.